Yo.
Kak, udah record kak?
Oke, sip. Oke. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And today, we're from Group 5, consists of Fi Amanillah Faikraya, Syauki Kodri Ashifa, Fatia Putri Raja, Dimas Satria Chandra. He's absent for today because of his health reasons. Ahmad Fauzan Al-Farizi, Sinatria Zahid, and Marfan Arta Pratama. So today we're gonna present to you about the Suharto's corruption case for Chitra Force Integrity and Anti-Corruption Set 53. Moving on, we'll show the table of contents first. So we're going through the introduction and then the case of background of Suharto. Then we will enter the discussion that we will discuss furthermore about Suharto's corruption case, and then we're moving on to lessons that we can learn from his corruption case, and then the conclusion. So, moving on. So, the first of all, introduction uh, about the Suharto's corruption case. The investigation started in 1998 when he was finally demoted from being a president after he served for 32 years. Suharto was one of the most important people in Indonesia's history, especially when he served as president in Indonesia. His governmental era was known as Orde Baru. In his era, infrastructure, economics, and national stability was was glorified, but behind his glorified era, he was accused of being a corrupt leader because he was in charge for being a president for too long. He has so much power over everything and almost has no supervision, including governmental, politics, military, and economics. This can be a great opportunity for him to abuse his powers to his advantage. One of his most iconic corruption cases is Super Semar, which is a short form for Surat Perintah 11 Maret, that that he was accused for like uh, millions of billions of rupiah. And then moving on, the case background that will be continued by who is it?
Okay, thank you, Raya. So the second one is his background. So Suharto, who ruled Indonesia for more than 3 decades, from 1966 until 1998, is now not only for the political and economic stability he created, but also for the various reprehensible acts he committed, ranging from gross human rights violation to corruption and nepotism. Transparency International once ranked Suharto as one of the most corrupt leaders in the world, with estimated state losses reaching billions of US dollars. Although in 2000, the Attorney General Office named Suharto a suspect in corruption cases, legal proceedings against him were never completed until his death on January 27, 2008. The reason cited by law enforcement authorities at the time was Suharto's poor health, which was deemed to make him unfit to stand trial. This argument reflected the state's weak commitment and inability to uphold the law against a major political figure.
Moving on.
In the global context, institutions such as the Guardian 2004 and the institution observed that Indonesia failure to resolve Suharto case illustrate the company of transitioning from an authoritarian regime to a democratic government. And that's all from me. And moving on to part three.
Okay, moving on to the discussion.
So the huge corruption committed by Suharto was not secluded. It was made possible by an arrangement of social, political, and economic factors that create a near perfect manipulation structure. So factors that contribute to offense are firstly the power and political structure. So when Suharto imposed the new order or Orde Baru regime after taking the power of in 1966, he not only established power in the presidency but also suppressed the political opposition and dominated the judiciary and parliament. This is likely the main factor was the lack of checks and balance. So there was no independent organization existed that could look into or question the executive branch. And then second is the fusion of state and private interests. So the state apparatus was used for private to increase his wealth. So they used the state's power to grant them a license to create a lucrative monopoly for the Cedana Group, which is a company belong to the Suharto's family, and also through the charity foundation, which acted like a parallel financial system, which allowed for the forced donation of public and corporate funds without direct budgetary oversight. And then lastly, the corrupt capitalism and patronage. So wide-ranging system of patronage allowed the regime to be maintained. So important military leaders and um business figures were granted economic privilege in return for their political allegiance or loyalty. This results in forming a coalition which creates a maintaining corrupt status quo. And then the law and punishment regarding to the Sohartos action is mostly considered as breaking the rules of corruption, bribery, and embezzlement. While the old Indonesian Criminal Code, or also known as KUHP, does not have a specific law regarding the corruption, there are many laws that can be used or can be said that is similar to it, like the law 372 KUHP, which consists impose a criminal threat on anyone who intentionally possessed an item that is not theirs against their rights. Which an example, the charity foundation could be said like money laundering. And then also there's a law 418 KUHP about regulates bribery in the form of return commissions and gratitude. While also many laws like law 374 KUHP, I think these two is the most relevant one.
Okay, moving on.
Okay, next slide. Alright, so now let's look at the implication towards what he has done. So I will be explaining about the three implications. So first one is individual. So the first one is due to his actions, okay, it has affected millions of ordinary Indonesians. So which means that what he has created is the gap between the rich and the poor grew even wider, and the public trust in the government during that time has significantly dropped. So many honest workers and civil servants has lost their motivation to work under the government because promotion and rewards were based on favorism, not performance. Then we move on to organizations. So what he has done is that most of the government departments and state owned companies were controlled by him, which made it difficult for fair competition to exist. For example, like a rigged voting system due to favorism. So private companies that weren't connected to his family found it hard to survive. And this damaged Indonesia's business environment and slowed down progress in many industries. And of course, it also affected the country. So because of his action, again, it has hurt Indonesia's economy and international reputation. So when the Asian financial crisis hit in 1997, the country's the country's has hit their its lowest point, where the system collapse, okay, leading to many protests, unemployment, and also political chaos. So because of this scandal, it has delayed Indonesia's move towards democracy. Okay. Next. Okay, so now let's move on to the measures to address integrity and corruption issues. So the first one is creating the KPK, Corruption Eradication Commission. So this is an agency focused on fighting corruption. So it investigates, prosecutes, and educates the public about integrity and also transparency. And the next one is legal reforms, which means there were new laws. Okay, new laws were made to strengthen financial transparency, regulate political donation, and also protect whistleblowers who report corruption. So by reforming this law, it makes the person who have any significant power to think twice regarding their actions. And the second last is government transparency. So the government started using e-procurement and online systems for budgeting and public spending to make transactions more open and reduce bribery, which means that any action has been recorded into the system. So if there's anyone who wants to investigate, the proof will be there and it cannot be forged. And the last one is through education and awareness. So most schools and universities have introduced programs and course related to corruption and also integrity. So students will know about the ethics and the importance of honesty in public service.
Thank, thank you, Arka. Now, lesson learned. From the Suharto corruption case, there are three main lessons we can learn. First, power without accountability. Suharto had absolute power over the government, military, and economy, which led to massive corruption. This reminds us that transparency and strong checks and balances are very important to prevent abuse of power. Second, independent institution. During Suharto rule, the judiciary and parliament were under his control, so enforcement was weak. The establishment of the KPK later show how important independent institutions are to maintain integrity and fairness in governance. And finally, ethics and public awareness. Corruption was supported by a culture of patronage and favoritism. That's why education and civic participation are essential to build honesty, integrity, and responsibility among citizens and leaders. Thank you.
Rohingya.
Okay. Thank you. Finally, conclusion. The corruption case of former President Suharto illustrates the deep entanglement of power and wealth during Indonesia's New Order era. Through nepotism and control over state resources, Suharto and his associates accumulated immense personal fortunes. Although post 1998, efforts to prosecute him were hindered by legal and political barriers. The case exposed systematic corruption and inspired significant reforms, including the creation of the Corruption Eradication Commission. Ultimately, It remains a pivotal reminder of the need for strong democratic and institutions to ensure transparency and accountability in governance. Thank you.
And thank you everyone for presenting. So that's all that we have to show for today. On also these are the references that we found on the internet. So we used uh, many articles and journals that we cited from Google, and then I think that's all that we can show for today. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.